Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Radha Natha Radha Radha Natha Radhe Jai Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jai Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jai Giri Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jaya Om Vishnu Pada Paramhamsa Privaracharya Asuta Sara Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Jaya Om Vishnu Pada Paramhamsa Privaracharya Asuta Sara Srila Bhaktisaranta Saraswati Maharaj ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem Saka Hoshi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai. Shriman Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Giri Raj Govardhan ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanande Hari Hari Bo. All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So, so today we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, Chapter 8, Text 23. So, Nanyam Tata Padma Palisha Lochanad Dukha Chidham Te Mighayami Kanchana Yo Mirgyate Hasta Grihita Padmaya Shriyetare Anga Vimigri Manaya. Nanyam tata padma palashalochanaat. Dukham chidham te mirgayami kanchana. Yo mikyate hasta grihite padmaya. Shriyetare ange anga vimighayamanaya. It's quite a tongue twister, but in here we'll say it slowly so you can get the meter. Nanyam tata padma palashalochanaat. Dukha chidham te mirgayami kanchana. Yo mirgyate hasta grihite padmaya. Shriyetare anga vimigyamanaya. Nanyam tata padma palashalochanaat. Dukha chidham te mirgayami kanchana. Yo migyate hasta grihite padmaya. Shriyetare anga vimigyamanaya. And say. Nanyam tata padma palashalochanaat. Dukha chidham te mirgayami lachanam. Yamigate hasta grihite padmaya. Shriyetare anga vimigyamanaya. Someone else? Mataji's? Nanyam tata padma palashalochana. Kachidam te mirgayami kanchana. Let's do the word for word. Na anyam, no others. Tata, therefore. Padma palashalochanaat. From the lotus-eyed, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dukha chidham, one who can mitigate others' difficulties. Te, your, mirgyami, I am, searching after. Kanchana, anyone else. Yaha, who. Mirgyate, searchers. Hastagriha padmaya, taking a lotus flower in the hand. Shriya, the goddess of fortune. Itare, by others. Anga, my dear boy. Vimirgyamanaya, one who is worshipped. So the translation goes as follows. My dear Dhruva, as far as I am concerned, I do not find anyone who can mitigate the distress but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose eyes are like the lotus petals. Many demigods, such as Lord Brahma, seek pleasure of the goddess of fortune, but the goddess of fortune herself, with a lotus flower in her hand, is always ready to render service to the Supreme Lord. So you may repeat. My dear Dhruva, as far as I am concerned, I do not find anyone who can mitigate your distress but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose eyes are like lotus petals. Many demigods, such as Brahma, seek the pleasure of the goddess of fortune, but the goddess of fortune herself, with a lotus flower in her hand, is always ready to render service unto the Supreme Lord. So let's read the purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Suniti pointed herewith that the benediction received from the personality of Godhead from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that received from the demigods are not on an equal level. Foolish persons say that no matter whom one worships, one will get the same result, but actually that is not a fact. In Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that the benedictions received from the demigods are all temporary and are meant for the less intelligent. In other words, because the demigods are all materialistically conditioned souls, although they are situated in very exalted positions, their benedictions cannot be permanent. Permanent benediction is spiritual benediction, since a spirit soul is eternal. It is also said in the Bhagavad Gita that only persons who have lost their intelligence go to worship the demigods. Therefore, Suniti told her son that he should not seek the mercy of the demigods, but should directly approach the personality of Godhead to mitigate his miseries. Material opulence are controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, his different potencies, and specifically the goddess of fortune. Therefore, those who are after material opulence seek the pleasure of the mercy of the goddess of fortune. Even the highly placed demigod worship even the highly placed demigods worship the goddess of fortune. But the goddess of fortune, Mahalakshmi herself, is always seeking the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone, therefore, who takes the worship of the Supreme Lord automatically receives the blessings of the goddess of fortune. In this stage of life, Dhruva Maharaj was seeking material opulence, and his mother advised rightly that even for material opulences, it is better to worship the demigods. It is better not to worship the demigods, but the Supreme Lord. Although a pure devotee does not seek benedictions from the Supreme Lord for material advancement, it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that pious persons go to the Lord even for material benedictions. A person who goes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for material gain is gradually purified in association to the Supreme Lord. Thus he becomes free from all material desires and is elevated to the platform of spiritual life. Unless one is raised in the spiritual platform, it is not possible for him to completely transcend all material contamination. Suniti, the mother of Dhruva, was a far-seeing woman, and therefore she advised her son to worship the Supreme Lord and no one else. The Lord is described herein as lotus-eyed, Padma Palisha Lochanat, when a person is fatigued, if he sees the lotus flower, all his fatigue can be immediately reduced to nil. Immediately, when an aggrieved person sees the lotus face of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, immediately all his grief is reduced. A lotus flower is also an insignia in the hand of Lord Vishnu, as well as in the hand of the Goddess of Fortune. The worshippers of the Goddess of Fortune and Lord Vishnu together are certainly very opulent in all respects. Even in material life, the Lord is sometimes described as Shiva Virinchi Nutam, which means that Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma also offer their respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Tadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhescha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. We see that I'll just give a storyline first before we start. So, this part of the fourth canto describes Dhruva Maharaj. So, Dhruva Maharaj is the son of Uttanapad, King Uttanapad, and his mother is Suniti. He also has a stepmother who is Surichi. So he wanted to sit on his father's lap as a child, and his mother Surichi refused because she said that you need to take birth from my womb in order to sit on your father's lap. And Dhruva, being a Kshatriya, he became very agitated, and he became very angry. Like, why do I need to take a birth from her womb in order to sit on my father's lap? I have an equal right as my brother to sit on my father's lap. So he went to his mother and complained, and his mother, now she's giving him advice, as we see in this translation of this verse. My dear Dhruva, as far as I'm concerned, I do not find anyone who can mitigate your distress but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose eyes are like lotus petals. Many demigods, such as Brahma, seek the pleasure of the Goddess of Fortune, but the Goddess of Fortune herself, with a lotus flower in her hand, is always ready to render service to the Supreme Lord. So she is advising Dhruva to please go and seek the Supreme Lord and, reveal your problem to him, and he can mitigate all your problems. So in this way, Dhruva set out to the forest in order to meditate and gain the favor of the Lord. So, and in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that as I'm reading, we'll explain, right? Suniti pointed out herewith that the benediction received from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that received from the demigods are not on an equal level. So we find that here, Prabhupada is saying that, why go to the demigods to receive anything, although they are there to benedict one in this material world with whatever. Jai Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai, Shriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Giriraj Govardhana ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So the demigods are there and they are looking after the different material manifestations in this material world. So like it is said, if you want a good wife, right, you go to Goddess Katyani. If you want money, you go to Mother Lakshmi. If you want knowledge, you go to Mother Saraswati, right? So these are different personalities that are there, that are in charge of the different manifestations of this material world. Just like in the government, you have the Prime Minister, and then you have the different ministers of different departments, like you have the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Water Affairs, the Minister of this and the Minister of that. So similarly, Krishna is the fountainhead of all incarnations and all demigods and all living entities. So we should actually worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is described, Prabhupada describes, just as you water the root of the tree, the whole tree is nourished. Similarly, you worship the Supreme Lord, who is the root of everyone, and the Supreme Lord is satisfied. You don't have to individually go and worship the demigods. So in this way, Mother Suniti instructs her son, Dhruva, that you go and seek out the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he can fulfill your desires. So, and Prabhupada very expertly is bringing this point about in his purport, that we should not worship the demigods, but worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Like in the Bhagavad Gita also, it is being described that those who worship the demigods are less intelligent because they want material things that don't last, that is here today and gone tomorrow, and that ends with the body. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead can give you benedictions that can carry you to your next birth even, right? Like if you haven't finished up your devotional service in this lifetime, then you do not lose anything, because in your next lifetime you will take up from where you have left off. So that is the advantage of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead rather than worshipping any demigod. So it is also being described that those whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, worship the demigods for temporary things of this world. And it is being described here in this purport that, some people say that whichever path you take on, it'll lead to the same goal. But we see that if you buy a ticket to Johannesburg, you won't end up in Cape Town because you're going to Johannesburg, right? So in this way, all paths do not lead to the same goal. It cannot lead to the same goal because it'll take you to your desired destination, like that. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also says, Yanti deva vrata devan pitar yanti prityavrataha bhutane yanti bhutaya yanti madhyachina apimam. That if one worships the demigods, he will go to the planets of the demigods. If one worships the ghosts and spirits, he will go to that planet. And if one worships me, he will come to me. Or if one worships the ancestors, he will go to that, the Pitarloka, where the ancestors are. So we should be convinced of this fact that, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we should dedicate our life and soul unto Him, and not go to any other person for whatever benedictions. Even if we have material desires, we can approach the Supreme Lord. Like Krishna says in the, there's a verse in the Brahma Samhita which goes like this: Akama sarva kamava moksha kam udharadi trivyena bhakti yogena jayatet purusham param, that whether one is full of material desires, have no material desires, or desire liberation, by all means he should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there is no need to go to anyone else. Similarly, like, if one performs any sinful reactions, he will go to a different hell. There are different hells described in the in the Bhagavad Gita, different hells. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 5th canto, that, if you engage in illicit activities, you go to a certain hell. If you engage in, whichever sinful activity, then there's different hells that are allocated for the sinful living entities. And like if you engage in illicit sex, then you have to embrace a dummy made of hot iron and burns like coal, right? And if you engage in drinking alcohol, then your tongue will be ripped out. If you eat animals, right, meat eating, you will be put into a pot of boiling oil and boiled. So this is the different hells that are there to actually where the living entity goes and suffers for his sinful action. But for devotees, you not need to worry about these hells, because just by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, it is being described that in the 6th canto that just by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the Yamaraj, the god of death, will not come near a devotee. And this Hare Krishna Mahamantra is so powerful that it can, release you from all sins in the heart. So we just need to chant Hare Krishna. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Our heart becomes cleansed by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So, so there's no need to go to any demigod, just worship Madhava, the husband of the goddess of fortune, right? The goddess of fortune possesses all opulence, so just go to him and he will provide you with whatever you need. And also, if you don't need something, right, just say you want something from the Supreme Lord, and he knows that it is not beneficial for you, right? But you want it and you want it and you want it, and you pray to the Lord like, please give me this or please give me that. Krishna, he will give it to you, but then he will purify you of the desire in that. You won't want it again. He will purify you of that desire. So there are many examples like this, where actually in this canto as well, where Dhruva was desiring for a kingdom bigger than his grandfather's. His grandfather is Brahma, right? And he was desiring for a kingdom bigger than his grandfather. But when he saw the Supreme Lord through the process of his meditation and chanting of the holy names, when he saw Krishna, and Krishna asked him, so how can I benedict you, Dhruva? And Dhruva said, my dear Lord, I've been looking for broken pieces of glass. Now that I've seen you, I don't need anything else. So in this way, Krishna purified him of that desire. But nevertheless, Krishna still gave him a planet, the pole star, right? That is, that is Dhruva's planet, the pole star. So we see that in this purport also, the Lord talks about Lakshmi Devi. Lakshmi Devi is the goddess of fortune, and she's holding a lotus flower in her hand. So we see in the Brahma Samhita, the goddess of fortune is glorified in the verse Chintamani prakara sadma sukalpa vriksha laksha vritesu surabhira vipalayantam Lakshmi sahasra satasam brahma sevyamanam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So in this verse, Krishna is, this verse says that the Supreme Lord is served by millions and millions of goddesses of fortune, right? And we know that in the spiritual world, the goddesses of fortune are the gopis, right? And he's served by millions and millions of the goddesses of fortune. And these goddesses of fortune have unalloyed bhakti for Krishna, right? Anya bilasita sunyam jnana karma anavritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhakti uttamam. That this unalloyed bhakti, this is what Krishna wants from his devotees, from his pure devotees, that you don't go to Krishna, asking for fruitive results. You don't, you must be free from mental speculation, jnana karma, anavritam. So all of these things Krishna don't want. He wants pure bhakti, and that pure bhakti is doing things that will satisfy Krishna, right? And this is what the gopis are doing. They're doing activities that will satisfy the Lord. They don't want anything for themselves. They want everything for Krishna. So we may not be on that platform at the moment, right? We still have material desires, but we can pray to Krishna, and nevertheless, in Krishna will remove all this, the vestiges of this material desires in the heart. Krishna will remove that, and we'll become eligible to go to the spiritual world. So we need not endeavor separately to go to fulfill our material desires. And in this way, whatever dirt that's accumulated in the heart, Krishna will remove it by the cleansing process of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So there's a nice verse in the Brahma Samhita, right? In order to go back to the spiritual world, one has to be eligible by cleansing the heart. And when he goes there, this nice verse, 556, Shriyakanta Kanta Parama Purushaha Kalpa Taravo Drumas Bhumis Chintamani Gana Maya Maitayam Amritam Kataghanam Narcham Gamanamapi Vamsi Priyasakihi. So in this verse, it is being stated that, I'll just read the verse to you. I worship that transcendental seat known as Swetadeep, where as loving consorts, the Lakshmis in their unalloyed spiritual essence practice the amorous service of the Supreme Lord Krishna as their only lover, where every tree is a transcendental purpose tree, where the soil is the purpose gem. All water is nectar, every word is a song, every gait is a dance, the flute is the favorite attendant. Effulgence is full of transcendental bliss, and the supreme spiritual entities are all enjoyable and tasty, where the numberless milk cows always emit transcendental oceans of milk. Where there is eternal existence of transcendental time, who is ever present and without past or future, and hence is not subject to the quality of passing away even for the space of half a moment, that realm is known as Goloka only to a very few self-realized souls in this world. There's a purport here given by His Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. So that region which jivas attain by the best performance of their rasa bhajan through purely transcendental is, though purely transcendental, is by no means devoid of variegatedness. So here in the spiritual world, it is variety, right? If you have love for Krishna as a child, and you want Krishna to be your child, he becomes your child and you become his parent. If you love Krishna as a lover, he becomes your lover. If you love Krishna as a friend, he becomes your friend. So there's variegatedness in the spiritual world, right? And in whichever way you worship Krishna, he will fulfill the desire in your heart. Yatamam prapadyante tam sataya vibhajami asvam. As one surrenders unto me, I will award him accordingly. So, like this, if you, whichever rasa you have for Krishna, he will accept that and he will fulfill your desire. So the non-differentiated region is attained by indulging in anger, fear, and delusion. The devotees attain Goloka, the transcendental region above Vaikuntha, according to the quality of rasa or respective services. In reality, the region is no other than Svetadweep, or the White Island, being exceedingly pure. Those who attain the highest rasa in the shape of the realization of pure devotion in this world, viewing the reality of Svetadweep in Goloka, Vrindavan, and Navadvip within the mundane world, designate the same as Goloka. So yes, so in whichever bhav, whichever mood you worship the Lord, he will accept that and he will grant you that that situation in the spiritual realm. In that transcendental region of Goloka, there are always visible in their supreme beauty all the distinctive entities that are incorporated in the pure cognitive principle, that is, the lover and his beloved ones, big trees and creepers, mountains, rivers and forests, water, speech, movement, music of the flute, the sun and the moon, tasted and taste. That is the unthinkable wonders of the 64 atheistic arts. So in the spiritual world also there's these 64 arts that are described in the Nectar of Devotion that can be used to serve the Lord, like cooking, the culture of making beautiful flower arrangements for the Lord, like the Lord's garlands, the Lord's ankle bells, the Lord's, turban pieces. So these are all arts that are being described in the Nectar of Devotion. That one, it's very extensive actually. You know, if you go to the Nectar of Devotion, you will see there's so many types of different arts there that's being described that can be used for the service of Krishna in the spiritual world. So in this material world, we also, Prabhupada has given us this devotional service so that we can practice how to decorate Krishna in the spiritual world, how to please Krishna in the spiritual world by dressing him, bathing him, and decorating him. So we can learn all these arts and how to please him. Even the cowherd boys in the forest, they please Krishna by engaging in different ways, different games to please Krishna. Like they will say, Krishna, okay, now our team has won, and your team has lost, so you need to carry us on your shoulder. You need to carry us on your back and, run around. So in this way, these are different types of arts that we can learn from the Nectar of Devotion, how to please Krishna. And it's very easy to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? In the Bhagavad Gita, he says, now that we're in the conditioned state, right? Patram pushpam palam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati. So he just offer me with love and devotion a leaf, flower, fruit, a little water, and I will accept it. So we need not make any strenuous efforts to please the Supreme Lord. All we have to do is just offer him these amenities that can be found anywhere, right? Leaf, flower, fruit, and water. It can be found anywhere. And because we are spirit souls, right? We need to connect with the Supreme Spirit's, the Spirit Soul, the Supreme Soul, who is situated within our hearts, right? We are not these bodies, we are this Spirit Soul, and we need to connect with the Super Soul, who is situated in the heart, and Krishna is that person. So in whichever way you love Krishna, he will accept that form within the heart, right? If you love Krishna as a baby, he will take that baby feature in the heart. At the moment, it's Lord Vishnu, right? He's 8 inches in the heart. But if we love the Lord in the form of a child, he will take that childish form in your heart. If you love the child, if you love Krishna as a supreme lover, he will take that form in your heart. So in whichever way you worship Krishna, he will take that form in your heart. So this is the beauty of devotional service, because we know what we are practicing, where we are going to, and what our destination will be at the end of this lifetime. Maybe not at the end of this lifetime, but maybe at the end of many other lifetimes. But we know our goal is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the spiritual world, right? So, and there's variegatedness, as is being described here: forest, water, speech, movement, music of the flute, the sun, and the moon. So there's variegatedness in the spiritual world as well. So descriptions that supply the clue to Goloka are found in the various places in the Vedas and other Shastras, such as the Puranas, Tantras, etc. The Chandogaya Upanishad says, Bruyat yavan va ayam akshastavan eshas antarida akasha ubhe asmin daya prithvi antar eva samhita ubhav agnischa vayuscha surya chandramasa ubhay vidyan nakshatrani chaschetayasi yacha nasti sarvam tad ashmin samhitam iti. The sum and substance of it is that the variegatedness of this mundane world and much more variety over the above and mundane. The sum and substance of it is that all variegatedness of this mundane world and much more variety over and above the mundane are to be found in Golok. Right? The variety of the transcendental world is fully centralized, whereas in the mundane world it is not so, and hence productive of weal and woe. So there's always dualities in the spiritual world, in this material world. There's always duality, like love and hatred, right? Happiness, distress. So there's variegatedness, there's duality in this material world, but in the spiritual world, everything is to please the Supreme Lord. So even if we have this mood of chivalrousness, so we can worship the Supreme Lord like this and attain that transcendental abode with these different types of moods, right? So the Vedas and the sadhus practicing devotion revealed by the Vedas by availing the support of their individual cognitional aptitude actuated by devotion may have a sight of divine realm, but by the power of the grace of Krishna, their tiny cognitive faculty attaining the quality of infinitude, they are enabled to be on the level of the plane of enjoyments of Krishna. So in this material world, we are looking for enjoyments. We're looking for enjoyment in all different places, and basically to enjoy our senses, right? And we find that whenever we try to enjoy our senses, there's always frustration. But when we use the same technique to serve Krishna for his pleasure and give pleasure to Krishna's senses, then our senses become purified. So in this way, we should do everything for Krishna's enjoyment and not for ours. There is a hidden meaning of the proposition, even the Supreme that is also nevertheless the object of enjoyment. Param api tad ashvadam apischa. The word param api indicates that Shri Krishna is the only absolute truth in all the transcendental blissful principle, and tad ashvadhyam api means his object of enjoyment. So the glory of Radha's love for Krishna, tasty, quality, rasa, for Krishna, that is of Krishna that is realized by Radha, and the bliss of which Radha is conscious in the process of such realization, all these threefold bhavas, emotional entities, becoming available for the enjoyment of by Krishna, he attains his personality as Sri Gauranga Sundar. Right? So this rasa, the mood of Srimati Radharani, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes down to this material world to give us the taste of this loving sentiment that Radharani has for Krishna, right? And this Krishna consciousness movement, starting with the Hare Krishna, chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, can actually bring us to that highest state of love that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had for Krishna, and in this way we can, become pure devotees of the Lord and go back to this transcendental abode. This also eternally exists only in the self-same Svetradip. So that ends the purport of the Brahma Samhita. So, dear devotees, if you have any realizations you'd like to share, you're most welcome to share them now. Or if you have any questions. So we'll just, since no one has any questions, we'll just go through the different points that was made. So firstly, the point that was made that we should not go to any demigods for our desires, even if it's material desires, we should not go to the demigods, but go to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the Lord can fulfill all our desires, even though we may be on the lowest stages of devotional service and not yet purified in heart, but we have to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, in order to purify our hearts and become eligible to go to the spiritual world. So we spoke about how Dhruva Maharaj, when he saw the Supreme Lord, his heart was cleansed, and he did not. When the Lord asked him for a benediction, he says, "My dear Lord, I was looking for broken pieces of glass. Now that I've seen you, I have everything. I do not need anything." So in this way, also, when we go to the spiritual world, we won't have any needs in our heart. We'll only want to serve Krishna for Krishna's pleasure. We won't want any needs. And it is being described in this verse that they are desire trees, right? And whatever you need from the desire tree will give you. But we will not want anything for ourselves. We'll want everything for Krishna's pleasure. So these desire trees will give us whatever we need for Krishna's pleasure. Right? The ground is made of touchstone, right? And there's millions of goddesses of fortune that are serving Krishna. So we actually, this process of Krishna consciousness that we are following, will actually make us eligible to serve Krishna in the highest realm of the spiritual world, and that is Golok Vrindavan. Hare Krishna. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.